Targeting in particular carp is something that I've done a lot of over the years. I know as much as anyone else, if you're going to do it, it takes planning, time, and pure determination to make sure you get that end result you're looking for. Everything from travel to the weather conditions is vital to making it a success.
At the beginning of last year, Jack showed me some pictures of some very special mirrors. From that moment, I knew the campaign was on. I'm no stranger to Jack's channel. You may have seen me in a few of his videos last year. London was a massive success for us. We still have unfinished business.
I'm going to talk to you now about my targets in particular because it will help you understand this video a little bit more. So in the big lake, the main priority, there's a big scaly mirror which was my initial reason for travelling to London, to really putting in the effort, putting in the miles, because I'd seen this and I couldn't quite believe it lived in the urban city. And from then on, I knew I was going to be putting in the effort for it, and that's exactly what I'd done. I got myself a ticket. I was driving up there every other weekend, every weekend, just walking around, just trying to get a picture, try and build a picture of what I'm up against and what that fish does on a daily basis. I was just watching it quite a lot last year, and it made it easier for me this season, let me put it that way. And the second fish is a deep, dark chestnut mirror which lives in the centre of London with very little pressure amongst a lot of other smaller carp. And because he doesn't take a lot of pressure, you would think he would be easy to spot, which to other anglers that have caught it in the past, that has been what they've told me. And I must have visited this place 30 odd times before I even got a glimpse of him, because I was looking at the wrong end of the lake. The part of the lake where I heard it was seen and likes feeding, never saw it there. So I decided to start looking, and that is for a bit later on in the video, but that should paint you a little picture of the lakes that I'm targeting. They're both central London, busy, full of weed, both of them, and got some heavy bird life. So you've got all of these things to take into consideration, not to mention parking, your parking fines, blooming out them things. I've had so many of those over the last couple of years, but it's all made it worthwhile, and you're going to see that when we get to the end of this video.
Our first day back at London, we visited our main venues, but that particular day we didn't see any. We'd done laps, looked, hunted. We were doing a waste that day. There's limited time, like I said before. So there's always a venue me and Jack had on our head, which we always wanted to visit in our first London video, which we never did. So we made a decision, packed the gear up, headed over there, and just put it this way, Jack was into his first fish.
Well, 2020, just turned up the lake. The only venue that me and Brad have not checked out, and been here 5 minutes, and we've got an epic one, an absolute banger. Please, please, pray it's going in there. Come on.
Take time, take time.
What a way to open the London account. Yes. Yes.
Absolute perler. First fish. Been here about 20 minutes. You actually see this one.
this absolute black gem. Lovely, lovely old fish. Scaly. Look at it. Tiny little tail in the centre of London. And what a way to start London too. It is absolutely epic. This is what we travel to London for. Bangers like this. I'll quickly show you the other side when we get it back. Look. Just how beautiful is that fish. Hope that camera does it justice because this is magnificent. It's got to be up there with my top London carp I've caught so far. So after I slipped that remarkable mirror back, there were still a few lakes on the complex which we really needed to investigate ourselves. It was still early on in the season, about a week into it I think, I believe opening night was. We got to the second or third lake and we finally managed to find some carp. They were sunning themselves right in this top bay of this little pond really, but it was one of the lakes that were fishable. And Bradley being Bradley, this was so comical. He didn't care what was in front of him, he just got the job done. Take a look at this. Go on, Brad. Yes, you f***ing animal. You animal.
This is what we come back for London for, these old gnarly mirrors. Found a few in a snag, been hunting most of the day after Jack caught his on this morning. Just look at her.
After Bradley slipped that carp back, I can't express to you how happy I was, because even last year I don't think Bradley managed to get himself a reasonable mirror out of London, and that fish was beautiful, wasn't it? Really, really scaly. And I was so made up for him, but he was stinking. He was absolutely covered in silt. And I think it was about time he took a bath, because he wasn't getting in my van like that.
Brad?
Yeah?
Brad, you caught anything?
Nah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, no mate.
What'd you catch it on?
Nothing. Oh, nothing.
One little paddle.
Yeah. I've got to wash this stuff off our stick.
People think you're absolutely mental.
Mate,
Do you know
they're
that?
gonna think I'm absolutely mental, but I've got to wash it, it stinks. Look, you see it? Up there. Right. Yeah, you coming in?
Nice.
Oh, no, I fell in over there, so I'm just washing my
Oh, you're
shorts.
kidding. It's
I know.
amazing.
No, not really, but like, that black silt.
Just didn't drink any of it.
He stinks. I'm not letting him get in the van like
Is
that.
it that smelly in there?
He's not getting in my van.
When I saw you looking at me.
Could have had a proper shower.
When I saw you walking down, I think she thinks I'm weird.
I'm just a nosy Parker. Hey, look at that.
Cheers.
See you later.
Oh, look at that. Is that for me?
Yeah, that's your
Thanks.
goodie for catching
Oh,
fish.
cheers.
I mean,
Might not even work. I reckon we deserve ice cream already.
Over the next couple of weeks, a few sessions had been undertaken by us in London, and we'd been catching frequently, but only small fish. And the reason we catch a small fish at the end of these days is because, you know, we've travelled all that way. The fish that we're targeting aren't there, so we may as well catch something. But it's not until a couple of weeks later, there's a couple that we met at Nash's Eurobanks party last year, Ryan and Taylor, and they invited us up onto the outskirts of London to where they live to join them in a session, and they took us to a remarkable little canal which me and Bradley fell in love with. It really was picturesque this time of year. The place in general was beautiful. It was gin clear, snaggy, and just a beautiful stretch of fresh water, and it had some amazing residents in it which we were lucky enough to catch that evening. My experience with canal carp in the past have been you really have to keep yourself quiet and low key, because one sniff that you're there, they're gone. And it actually was a bit like this on this canal, because as soon as we saw them, they'd literally be right under your feet, and by the time you stop, they're darting off, and it become a little bit frustrating, to be honest. So Bradley being Bradley, he's a all-rounder fisherman, isn't he? So he's decided to start having a little jig off this big snag, and he was catching perch after perch. Really nice, beautiful dark stripies, and it gave us something to photograph and film for the next couple of hours. So Ryan told me that night fishing is something that doesn't happen on this venue because of everything that's going around. It's in the middle of quite an urban place, and it is quite rough at night. And he just said it's not being done by him anyway, or any of his friends. So there was three of us, you know, we're all quite big lads, and we said, right, let's get some bait in and let's go for it. And that is exactly what we done. We laid out all three of our bed chairs, had a few beers and kicked back, and it was just extremely quiet. It was unbelievable.
That night was pretty eventful, with Jack having a screaming take about 3 AM. I had to get up and help Jack net that fish. On the other hand, Ryan was just snoring away like Snorlax. Oh mate. Anyway, Jack was into that fish. He was adamant it was a tench.
No, Brad, it's a tench.
So we got into that net, we both looked down and saw it was a plump chestnut common. Come morning, my rod was absolute melting off. I was literally like, bah! I've got up, ran through the trees, down to the rod. I was fishing a little hole. It was still one toning. I've picked it up. The line is wrapped round, you name it. It was round it. I managed to strip down, straight in. With that, Jack's come down to meet me with all the chaos going on. Both got into the canal. Me and Jack had to work as a team, pick a great big log up out of the way, move the rod underneath it to free the line. It was like a figure of 8. Then Jack's phone slipped out his pocket, straight into the drink. But someone was looking down on us. We managed to get that in.
Can't be a fortune though. He's at the mouth. Look at his little mouth. Little mouth.
That's definitely that corn we saw yesterday, isn't it?
Yeah. So we headed up here yesterday to meet up with our mate Ryan, and we really worked hard for a couple of fish, and dropped on last night to our spots that we baited yesterday morning. And we got this little beauty. And Bradley had one this morning to back it up. So we'll get that out in a minute. Brace shots, yes. Nice. It's really mental, this lake as well. It's like, it reminds me of a canal, but apparently it's a lake. And it's got a few of these bangers floating around in it. Where is it? No, I haven't seen that one before.
Is that not the one you heard?
No, it's not the one I had.
It's quite hard to hold, actually.
Looks wicked.
Little eyes as well. Cool carp.
Round off a good morning's angling.
One toner this morning.
I'm ready for corn then.
Right, one higher one.
How's that? Pretty well. Guess that's pretty much how the fight was as well, was it? It literally was like that. I thought I had intention. Didn't I? It was going like this. It was going, you know, like really shaking its head, and I thought that's a tench.
That's a tench.
And a banging comment like that on the end. Cheers, Ryan. Thanks for having us, mate. There's a bit of sun, really.
We said our goodbyes to Ryan, and the weeks previous of what you've already seen, Bradley left his net, his expensive Scope Black Ops net, at the lakes. And we weren't too far from there, so we decided to pop in on the way back and pick it up. And his luck would have it, it was there, so he was absolutely buzzed with that. And I said to him, while we're there, let's go and check out a new venue and just have a little stroll, really. And this is where I don't know what actually happened to me that day. I was feeling a little bit anxious because there were so many people around. The sun was beaming, families out everywhere, people having picnics, and I just didn't want 1,000 eyes on me that day. But Bradley being Bradley, we were walking along, and we've come to this corner of the lake, which was seriously busy. But it wasn't just busy with people, it was busy with carp. And not just any old carp. They were the most remarkable scaly fish that we'd seen at this point in London. And Bradley just didn't even hesitate. I said to him, it's not the time, mate. It's not the time and the place. And he goes, Jack, I'm doing it. And I went, oh my God, oh my God. Next thing I know, he's pinching on his bit of bread. He's setting up, ready to go. And all the time I'm going, oh my God, oh my word, what is going to happen? And these fish don't get fished for. So if you've put out a bit of slow sinking bread on their nose, you know what's going to happen. And that is exactly what went down.
Nice fish.
Can you get it in the net though?
It's so powerful.
Well done, mate.
Look at that, Jack. Look at that. Just gone to the next venue. We're exhausted from this morning. But look at this little scaly one. Well happy, mate.
Nice one.
I just don't know why, but I was feeling really paranoid for some reason, and it didn't need to be, because everyone was giving him a round of applause when he slipped it back, and I just thought, right, it's my turn. There's still a lot of nice fish out there, and I'm going to hand select which one I want to catch. And after missing a couple, I finally got the one that I was after.
Well, Bradley's just given me severe anxiety. He's come into this London Park Lake, hooked one, my heart's going like this, and then I thought, you know what, I've got to catch one now, so here we go. A little one's going to have it. Oh, maybe not.
Jack, why put it away?
Might be bigger than that.
Fat.
Look at that then. Oh, nice. How's that for a London Park Lake? Absolutely made up with that one. Beat me right up. This is the other side. Last year we really struggled in London to get mirrors, and this year seems like all we can catch. Buzz it. Right, let's get it back. Nice. best way.
This whole video now has been about these venues which we weren't targeting. So let's get back to why we are in London. Because it was something that we needed to start spending our time on and focusing on catching these targets.
Today isn't the best weather for stalking, and we come to London, you know, we're always on limited time when we come here. But today, me and Bradley, we got to do something a little bit different. Got a bag of particle and some scope X squid, and we brought the shears with us because it's this little spot there. We've just cut this swim out, and I think if we can get this bait in, come back in a couple of hours, we could have a chance of catching a couple of fish. So.
A few sessions had passed again and we hadn't stumbled across any of the big girls, but we had started picking up a few little commons. But like I said, you just have to time it right on these venues, because if they're not there, it's not worth wasting the time and the day that we have, because there's other carp that are around to be caught. Like I say, on days that are quiet, there were venues close by which held beautiful carp as well. And there was one which Bradley was trying to add to his list of fish that he wanted to catch. So we started going and visiting this place quite frequently if things weren't happening. And he come very close one day. He come very close indeed. But it just wasn't to be. But I'm sure he will get it at some point. But we had a great time walking around there, using the boats, you know, having a look at what might be a venue for us in the future. But we'll be back for that, I'm pretty positive. There'd become a time in the summer where Bradley wasn't able to join me for a few sessions, and I took a mate with me. I took my mate Mike, and I decided to show him a little bit of what I'm doing up in London, and he came along to help me film. And I remember that day we caught a little common from one of the target venues, and it was a little bit of an eye-opener for him, and he got some amazing footage for me.
Well, we just turned up this morning back at the London Park Lake, and fish this place, well, not fish this place, but I came to this place quite a lot last year, and I'd never actually put a rod in the water because I don't want to spoil my chances. There's still one mirror that I want to catch. But it's a beautiful little swim here, tucked away from the people, and just some fish. So I can't resist it, and I'm going to have a go for it. get one. Mental. Oh, it's going on.
So I slipped that cricket bat common back, and we decided to go on a little bit more of an adventure, checking out other venues, checking out the venues which I'm targeting. And I was parked up that day for 20 minutes, and I know you guys are already familiar about that, but this is part of London fishing. You know, if you're going to go up there, make sure you don't leave anything in your vans, because that's exactly what happened to me. The van got turned over, and it mucked up my fishing for quite a few weeks after that, because I had no gear. And we're not going to touch down on that because you guys already know, but when you're fishing in the city, try and keep yourself safe and look after your gear.
As I mentioned briefly earlier, timing is a massive part of this for me and Jack, as we need the weather perfect so we can see the fish, any signs to hunt them down, as we have such short sessions to work on. I missed a very special moment in our campaign, as we all have other commitments and things booked in. That weekend I had a social down Sandhurst, which resulted in me catching a new PB and 5:30s in a day session. I come out 17th out of 17 in the draw. I thought it was all over, but I kept confident, kept my head up, and the results paid off.
Every cloud has its silver lining, doesn't it? I managed to get some kit. Thank you very much for all the companies that supplied me, and I was back in the big city doing what I loved. And this time my old man joined me for some reason. I have no idea, but he rung me up saying, "Come on son, I'm coming with you." And I can't believe what happened that day. We got into a part of the lake where I normally see the fish. It was like 30 odd degrees that day, and I saw a lot of fish which I haven't seen in the past. I was starting to think, maybe there's more in here than what I thought. And just as I've looked back up, there it was. There was my target, along with every other big common in the lake. I had a pick. I could have caught any one of those fish at that moment. They really were just grubbing on the bottom. I could see everything in 2 foot of water, 3 foot of water, gin clear. And there's my target. And I really wasn't going to let this opportunity slip. After pulling myself together, you know, the adrenaline, you know what happens when your target fish is there, you've been chasing it for years. The moment has come and everything goes out the window, doesn't it? Goes absolutely tits up. You're going like this, you make a cast, goes over the tree branch, or just absolutely fall to bits and you muck it up. But luckily I didn't spook him, and after the most horrific battle, it took a good 100 yards of line, I managed to get it. And I can't believe I managed to share that moment with the old man. I was just extremely happy to be holding this beautiful scaly mirror.
I've got it. I've got it. I've got it. Yes. The big royal mirror. Scaly. The scaly. Look at that. That is something else. Absolutely incredible. all those expenses. I've done it. I've done it. Show you the other side. I'll get it back. Show you the other side quick. And it's just as nice. Absolute perler. I am so buzzed. When you catch a target fish, there's no feeling like it, is there? Just incredible. Just incredible. And this is my reward for having all my gear robbed last week, 2 weeks ago. I'm back. And we've done it. Yes. Can't believe it. 2 years been off that fish. Finally done it. Got the good luck charm with me today. Bit of father and son bonding, and we've only gone and done it. Oh, you can probably tell I'm absolutely buzzing. Fish of a lifetime.
Which was also quite kind to us.
This is the tune I love. This is the best bit of the whole video.
Well, we'll run through it in a minute, shall we? Whilst we're having a bit of dins.
Summer is knocking on now, it's gone into early autumn, and there's one particular common I was after, which was my main target this campaign. This fish lived at our favourite venue, and we've only seen it once in the whole 2 years of our London fishing.
One target down, one to go. It didn't stop me. I was straight back up there the next week. I had unfinished business, didn't I? I was halfway there to achieving my targets, and I wasn't going to stop and let my foot off the gas for one moment, because the weather was spot on for it. And this weekend I knew that I was going to be having another one of my targets. It was early Saturday, and I took the girlfriend up to London. No fishing that day, but we was gonna spend a little bit of time walking around, have a bit of lunch, and check out the parks. Which, it's sod's law, isn't it? Because the one park that I've been checking 30 odd times, never seen the fish, the day I haven't got a rod, it's there. That day I wasn't there for that reason, you know, we were just spending a bit of quality time together. But that didn't stop me going back to the van about 7 o'clock that evening, getting some particle that had already been prepared, and going back to a swim which I knew had a lot of cover, and it was at the end where this fish was going to be feeding. So I put in about 5 kilo of particle, and I rang Bradley on the way home and said, we've got to get back down there. We've got to be back on that spot early morning. So as you know, yesterday I popped down here, put in a lot of particle on the spot. Turned up this morning and it absolutely turned up to the max. There's so many fish on the spot. And I can't believe I'm going to say it, but I missed a big one this morning. Hopefully it hasn't spooked too much, and this one just had a little comment out of it, just came up and sucked right in, so going to get it out, have a quick picture, and hopefully get something a bit clean. I didn't even strike for this fish because I didn't want anyone to spit it back out. But
unfortunately, took it, and I don't think I've spooked the spot actually, so that's a plus point. Just try to crank it in as quickly as possible. To be fair, quite a nice looking common.
So we wasn't going to let it ruin our day, and we went back to the venue where Bradley had a target, a big common, and it was exactly like the day when I caught the linear. The fish were everywhere, and there was this spot which we were looking at from the top of the tree, and a lot of fish seemed to be flanking, rubbing up against the side of this this dead tree. And when his target came waddling in, you should have seen his face. He went absolutely white. He was like, oh my god, I've got to catch that fish. But we never saw it again after that. As soon as he got his rod, as soon as he made that cast at it, we never saw it again. And it's something that we will be returning to, and we will make sure he catches it. But with that said, there was plenty of other fish out there that day, and he caught this remarkable looking common. Check this one out.
Done some miles today, come back to the other venue, looking not the big one, but we've got a nice common to show you. Let's get it out. Here she is, after doing a lot of leg work, missing that one at the other venue, which was a target fish, a little bit wounded. Come back to the other venue, checking some spots, seen a few fish, and managed to get this one.
When someone's telling a story, there's always got to be a happy ending, hasn't there? And this one has exactly that. We decided to go back to that spot where I'd put a lot of particle in the previous night. And he was back. My target, the one that I've been dreaming about for a long time, was back on the spot. And I was going to get a second chance at this fish.
Leave it. Go on, Toms. She's in. Get in there. She's in.
2 targets out of London in 2 weeks. What a kipper. What a kipper. Look at the size of this kipper. Oh, it is a beast. Beast of a fish.
His back, his head.
I can't wait to see her on the bank, mate.
What a fish. That's bigger. That's bigger than the scaly. Oh, mate. Look. No wonder this fish put up such a scrap. What? An incredible fish. Look at that. Look at it. Oh man. What a fish. Incredible, incredible. We started this London journey 2 years ago with a few fish in mind. This was one of them. Scaly was another, and still a couple more, but if nothing else happens, I am over the moon. This is a whacker. Probably one of the best fish I've ever caught in my life. From one of the most intense places in my life, I'm pretty sure about, but cheers to Brad's. What an epic journey, man. What an epic journey. When they say effort equals rewards, it really does. Came up here yesterday, 2-hour journey. 2-hour journey back just to bait up because I knew the weather was going to be shit today. It was me and Brad's. And I've managed this remarkable beast for my efforts today. London. We done it. Well, I've done what I set out to do anyway. Remarkable. Let's get her back.
Reba!
Is that it for you now, or can we expect a target from you next season?
All I can say is there will be a London 3.